So hey, welcome back. In the last video that we saw that this fetch request is causing infinite amount of fetches and it is freezing our application. So what do we do? What do we do? How do we make this asynchronous request run and set the state in such a way that it, even if it re-renders, it doesn't cause an infinite loop? We To do that we use a hook called as use effect. Now by the name it tells us that we are using some effect. Now what does an effect means? An effect in JavaScript is a side effect. A side effect can be anything from an event to an API request, right? So anything that doesn't follow the synchronicity of the program, like it runs the first line then the second line, like anything which is asynchronous in nature or anything which is event driven in nature should be used with use effect, right? Now what how do we use effect? So essentially use effect is a function. Write this. Okay, I'll just remove everything else. Use effect is a function which takes a function, yeah, and also a set of dependencies with it. Okay, right. So we are here, right? Okay, now for now let's just keep the dependencies as an empty array. So there can be three type of use effect dependencies: an empty array, nothing at all, right? Or maybe some dependencies, like let's say to do's, yeah. So let's just keep this an empty array for now, and I'll tell you what happens when we change everything. Okay, let's come here and let's cut this code, paste it here, and okay, I don't know, let's just remove the comments. Okay, so this use effect is basically takes two arguments. It's a function. First of all, it takes two arguments. One is a callback function and another is a set of dependencies. By dependencies, what I mean is what what the running of use effect is dependent on, right? Or in other words, if some set of variable changes, then the use effect runs, right? So yeah, uh how about this? How about we cut this and paste it in some other function? Let's say const get to do's. Yeah, sounds better, I guess, right? Now we call get to do's here. This just keeps the program a little cleaner. Also, I forgot this. We cannot use this, right? We are supposed to use process dot env. So let's do this. Const react app backend URL equals to process dot env. Now let's copy this, remove this whole thing, do this dollar react app backend URL slash to do. Let's see if this works. Let's come here, let's hit a refresh. Okay, we can see. Okay, let's go to network log and how do I come take this up? Yeah, come on, come on. Yeah, okay, we don't need this, we don't need a console here. Okay, localhost bundle.js, blah 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 blah. Okay, now forget everything else. Look at this. Okay, this request ran once. Now the first time around, if we come here, the first time around my to-dos is an empty array. So let's just think that this never ran. Okay, uh, now my to do is an empty array. It works perfectly fine, right? We came here, to do's is an empty array and it works, right? Now what happens is use effect comes into picture. Use effect calls the function get to do's, and now get to do's calls this whole thing, and set to do's happen. And now once we set the to do's, we then have to re-render. Now once we re-render, now these to-dos have updated their value to this array with these two to-dos, right? Getting the point here? But here's a question: before using use effect, this was running in an infinite loop. After using use effect, this is running once. How? What's happening? The magic lies here. Use effect is basically a function where we have to run asynchronous code, right? But even this can go into infinite loops, or even this can go into problems, right? But you see this array with no dependencies at all, or empty array. This empty array tells use effect that you have to run just once. That's it. You cannot run anything more than once. You cannot go and above that one time that you ran, right? So essentially, use effect will only run once if it has an empty dependency array. So I hope you got this. Let's start writing this to-do list here in the next lecture. Yeah.